You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the interview right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always. Got a very special guest in this week's episode. I'm delighted to be joined by the 1997 Kilmarnock Scottish Cup winning hero, Mark Reilly. Mark, it's a pleasure to welcome you onto the show. Thanks very much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, Scott.
Brilliant. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Living the dream.
What you kind of doing with yourself since you stopped playing and things like that? Like, how have you been keeping busy?
I retired in 2006. Scott, and at the time opened a couple of Subway shops.
Right.
And then the credit crunch came. I didn't particularly enjoy it anyway, working in the shops. I think after playing football for 21 years and being out in the fresh air and training, it's a bit of a culture shock for me, being in that enclosed space in a shop. So the credit crunch came, I think that'd be about 2008.
Yeah.
And then about 2009, the sales in the shops dropped. So I was kind of forced into looking for another job. And at the time, the police were having a big intake. So it was actually my next door neighbour, my pal, who was an inspector in the police at the time, said, listen, why don't you apply for the police? So that's what I did, and I've been in there for 12 years now.
Brilliant. How different is that to playing football?
Oh, night and day. Night and day. In the real world, you know, obviously you're playing football, you're in a wee bubble, so to speak. And then joined the police. It was great. It's kind of makes you appreciate how lucky you are, Scott. Some of the people that you encounter, you know, really maybe difficult circumstances, etc. So it brings home how lucky you are at times as well.
Yeah, definitely. How you been kind of keeping up with? You've been keeping up with kind of football in the past couple of years. Like, what's been your thoughts, particularly on your old club, Kilmarnock?
Because of my work and my daughter's obviously get Rett syndrome. She takes up a lot of my time. For retired, I've not really been following it quite as much. But it was sad to see Kelly getting relegated. That was a big blow for having been in the top flight for such a long period of time. To get relegated was a blow, but hopefully they can bounce back first time.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us a bit about your charity, what you've been doing over the past few months. You've been in social media, you've been doing some amazing work. Tell us a bit about it.
As I kind of touched on there, Scott, my daughter Dion, she's 13 in a couple of weeks. She's got a condition called Rett syndrome, which is basically it's a mutant gene that forms, and the young child kind of normally manifests between 6 and 18 months of age. So basically, Dion requires 24/7 care. And I've been doing a wee bit of charity work for a number of years now. Started off doing the 3 Peaks Challenge and did a couple of Ironman events. So my challenges are getting, as it goes on, seem to be getting a little bit tougher. So I decided the other year to sign up for the Marathon des Sables, which is it's a self-sufficient ultra. It's roughly 156 miles in the Sahara Desert. As I say, it's self-sufficient, so you've got to carry all your own food, sleeping bag, etc. for the week. The only thing the organisers provide is water and salt tablets. So I signed up for that for the charity, and then obviously it was postponed due to the COVID situation.
Yeah.
And I'd started a Just Giving page, so I thought I'll need to try and come up with something else. And I come up with the idea of running between the grounds of all the football teams that I'd played for, starting at St Johnstone. So ran for St Johnstone to Motherwell. And then the intention was from Motherwell to Paisley, St Mirren, and then from St Mirren on to Kilmarnock. But obviously, just it was a week or so before the event, I did it on the 22nd of May. Glasgow remained in level 3, so I wasn't able to run through Glasgow into Paisley. So I took up Paisley out and basically just run from Perth to Motherwell and then on to finish at Killie, which left me about 12 miles short. So what I did a lap at Strathclyde Park, which is about 4 miles. And then I had the rest just to make up to the 100 miles, actually, just when I got into Kilmarnock, just ran around the streets of Kilmarnock. And I was lucky enough to finish in it in at Rugby Park, so it was great. So I did the 100 miles in, I think it was 23 hours and a minute. Big Kevin McGowan was with me the full way, so it was great. I managed to stop at Fir Park for about an hour. There was quite a lot of people there, so I ended up learning the people for about an hour there, and we stopped at Falkirk's ground for about half an hour or so. So it was tough, but it was great. It was really good. The last 10 mile were really tough, but no, it was a great challenge. So I kind of did that in place of the Marathon des Sables. But obviously, the Marathon des Sables looks like, and hopefully, it's been rescheduled for due to fly out 6 weeks on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking really positive for it. But I see that there's been a big increase in COVID cases in Morocco. So just need to wait and see how the next few weeks go. So hopefully we'll hear in the next few weeks whether that's going to go ahead or not. So that's really the kind of charity stuff in the last few months.
Brilliant. It's looked really good. We can only wish you all the best with it. Tell us a bit about your kind of early football career. Obviously, you came through at Motherwell. Like, what was your experience like coming through the ranks there?
Yeah, no, it was great, Scott. I was really fortunate. I was also frustrated as well. I was really fortunate at Motherwell because Tommy McLean, I think, was way ahead of his time in terms of coaching. He was a fantastic coach. And for a young boy coming through, learning the basics of the game, it was excellent. It was really, really good. But I was also a bit frustrated as well because I was playing left back. What happened, I was a midfield player as a kid all the way through, and then we went to the Scotland schoolboy trials and they played me left back. So I got in the Scotland schoolboy squad as a fullback. So I was then kind of pigeonholed as a fullback. So I left school and I went to Motherwell and they were playing me fullback. So I was really frustrated because I think I knew within myself that I didn't have the qualities to play at that level at fullback. So I was definitely frustrated, but at the same time really fortunate because I had a really good grounding in the game and brilliant place to learn. Made my debut left back behind David Cooper, so it was brilliant, really, really good.
Brilliant. Who were some of the best players you played with at Motherwell?
Well, a lot of great players at Motherwell at the time. Obviously, David Cooper was probably the kind of standout for everybody.
What was it like? What was it like with the young guys?
It was actually, looking back, at the time there was obviously 2 dressing rooms, and the kind of younger boys like myself that were in the ground staff or the reserves, we get changed in the away dressing room and the first team were kind of in the home dressing room. But he was quite an unassuming guy, a really quiet guy. He obviously had a great presence. He was obviously a great player, and as you tend to find with a lot of these great players, they have a kind of aura about them, and David Cooper had that, but he wasn't a kind of vocal guy. I can always remember him, he was fairly quiet, and not maybe what you would expect to somebody his kind of stature and ability, because normally you tend to find these kind of guys are kind of maybe quite loud, confident, but no, he was quite a quiet guy, but top player.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us a wee bit about your move to Kilmarnock. How did it come about?
I remember, again, just talking on the frustration. I was there at Motherwell for 85 and I left when they won the Cup in 91. Mm-hmm. I think I'd only started about 4 first-team games at left back. So I was getting really frustrated, and I think with that frustration going through the motions, but Tommy McLean was great with me. I think he realised that, but he offered me another contract, and I said, listen, I would kind of rather go and try and play first-team football somewhere. And he was really good. He said, listen, back then there was no kind of agents back then. So he said, listen, I'll kind of ask about for you, see if MD's keen. He says, if you don't get anything, I'm quite happy to keep you here for another year and see how it goes. So it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe about a week later he came back to me and said, listen, I spoke to Jim Fleeton at Kilmarnock. They're quite keen on you. And it just really went for there, Scott. I went down and I met Jim Fleeton and ended up signing with Kilmarnock. Again, frustratingly, as a left back. But I thought maybe at the time Kilmarnock were obviously in the first division at that point. But I was just keen to try and establish myself as a first-team player.
Yeah, definitely. What was your kind of early years like at Kilmarnock? Before 97, what were your kind of favourite memories?
Before 97, I think Again, it was probably frustrating for me initially at Kilmarnock because I was in and out of the team playing left back, and then when Tommy Burns got the job, I think he was without doubt the biggest influence in my career.
Yeah.
I think he identified I wasn't a left back. He said, I think you've got the qualities to play midfield. So he gave me that opportunity to play midfield. So I think for the Tommy Burns era, for getting in and playing, and I mean, there's obviously big games that stick out. I think prior to 97, for me, I think probably in my time, one of the most important games was that last day of the season at Easter Road.
Yeah.
Hibs. I think it was a time of league reconstruction where three clubs were getting relegated, and we went into that final day with the possibility of being relegated. I think if Kilmarnock could get relegated at that point, it would have been maybe difficult to get back up again.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really, really important game. But in terms of memories, I loved every day. I think supporters obviously they see the Saturday or the match day, but I love going in every day. I love training. I love the camaraderie in the dressing room. I really enjoyed training. So I probably enjoyed Monday to Friday as much as the Saturday. Obviously, the Monday to Friday is a preparation for the Saturday, but I loved every minute of it. So it's really difficult to pick specific games out. But if I had to pick one, it probably would be that game at Easter Road. And obviously, I think the cup semi-finals that year as well with Rangers. I think we were really unfortunate not to get to the final that year. We kind of gave them a good run for their money and we're really unlucky. And we could probably say the second game that Rangers were probably fortunate with the goal that I still don't think was over the line. So they games as well, were great, and great for us at that kind of early stage of the team's development to get to a semi-final.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there obviously Tommy Burns. Well, obviously it takes you to Reading as well. Just how big an influence did Tommy Burns have in your career?
As I kind of touched on, without doubt, he was the biggest influence in my career. I don't think I would have played for as long as I did. And maybe not. I maybe would have fell away and played part-time. So I think I've got to credit him for giving me that opportunity to play midfield and give me the confidence. He was, I think, that kind of speaks about Tommy Burns. He was a kind of unique individual. He was brilliant at that time. His man management was fantastic. Really passionate guy, really funny guy, humorous guy. But he had that kind of edge to him as well. He was brilliant. He had everything. And at that time, looking back at Kilmarnock, the boys would have ran through brick walls for him. So without doubt, he was vital to my career. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as well, there was some good characters in that Kilmarnock dressing room. We've had a few of them on. Who sticks out to you as the good characters in that dressing room at that time?
Oh, again, so many characters. I remember Tam Burns signing Big Al McInally, and he came in. He was larger than life. There's so many stories about him. He was a great character at that time. I came in one day, in a milk float. I think he took the milk float off the milkman and drove into the training in the milk float. There's so many stories about him. He was brilliant, absolutely great in the dressing room. And then latterly after that, you've obviously got the McCoist and Durant kind of era. They were fantastic. But so many characters. Everybody had different personalities, and it was great times looking back. It really was.
Yeah, it was that. The 1997 Scottish Cup, obviously the final kind of speaks for itself, but what was the kind of journey to that final like? What were your memories for that cup run as a whole before the final?
I think we kind of started and stammered away kind of through some of the games. I remember, I think it was it maybe Stirling we played at the start. I don't think we were great, and then I think we get through against Clyde as well. I think we Bunyan maybe scored. We weren't great. I think the one game we did play quite well. It's a difficult place to go. Was Capo. I think it was 5-2. We played well that day. Capo was always a really difficult venue, so that kind of stuck out as the one game where we actually did well in terms of our performance. And then the semi-final with Dundee United, I think, out with Old Firm, they were the kind of forum team at that time, but it was a typical semi-final. You know, it was tense. There was not a lot in it, and obviously we were fortunate enough to. I think it was Jimmy McIntyre scored to get us in the final. So, yeah, not particularly great in terms of performance, but I think cup run's the most important thing is getting the win.
Yeah, that final against Falkirk at Ibrox. What was your memories of that day?
I think my initial memories was being in the bus coming up to the stadium and then seeing a sea of blue and white everywhere, the Kelly fans, you know, and it kind of hit home how important it was to the people of Kilmarnock and Ayrshire, in the town. Incredible atmosphere. The game, can't remember a great deal about the game. I can remember Big Drago's save. I can remember looking back and I always kind of kicked myself. I remember when the final whistle went, being disappointed initially because I thought second half we didn't play well. You know, we didn't do ourselves justice. You know, it's the Scottish Cup final. We're much better than that. I felt first half, without playing great, we were in control of the game. Second half, Falkirk obviously come back in and put us under a lot of pressure. I think we dug in, but I don't think we played particularly well. And I can remember when the whistle went, there was that just split second of disappointment, and then there was the relief. And then there was that, wait a wee minute here, we've just won the cup, you know, and it just kind of sunk in what we'd actually achieved. So no, it was brilliant. And I think just seeing the fans, and I think you ask any of the players for that day, the one memory that they kind of speak about is coming back in the bus to John Finney Street.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you leave Kilmarnock in 1998 and reunite with Tommy Burns at Reading. Was that kind of Tommy Burns keen to take it down and try England? Was that how that came about?
To be honest, Scott, I didn't really want to leave Kilmarnock at the time.
Okay.
I was kind of negotiating my contract. I wasn't in great wages, and I knew the club had been spending a wee bit of money and bringing in a better quality player. And I wasn't kind of looking for the same money that they were on, but I was looking for a wee bit of a better wage. And cut a long story short, never got it. And Tam Burns contacted me and said, "Listen, I can't believe Kilmarnock's not giving you a decent contract." He said, "I'm going to want to flag you down." And he actually flew me down the day after we beat Rangers at Ibrox. Mm-hmm. So I told Bobby before the game what was happening, kept him updated, and I went down, and Tam was quite persuasive. And kind of looking back, I never had a great feeling, Scott, but cut a long story short, I shook hands with Tam that I would sign, and then I come back, and Bill Costley was the chairman at the time. And it was the chief executive, Ian Welsh, had been doing my contract negotiations. So Bill Costley phoned me up and I said, "Listen, what's happening?" I said, "Listen, I want you to meet me and we'll get this sorted." I said, "Listen, I'd love to, but I can't." I've shook hands with Tam Burns. And he said, "But have you signed anything?" I said, "No." I said, "But I've shook hands on it. For me, that's as good as signing something." Yeah. So I ended up going down. Scott, I was settled where I was. I was a bit of a home bird. My family were settled at the time. So kind of uprooted them and kind of down we went. And the season started. And I think Tam had signed a lot of Scottish boys at the time. He signed quite a few. Wanted his kind of own players in. And to be honest, looking back, I think, you know, shortly after, if they've asked Tam, would they have signed me? I should have, probably not, because the guy who played the same position with me was the guy Phil Parkinson. It was a big Reading kind of fans' favourite, hero, big player for them. And to be honest, they did that whole midfield job as well, if not better than me. So when I went down, I only played a handful of games. I got injured at the start, and then I came in, and I think to try and find a place for me, Tam was kind of playing me wide left. And to be honest, I was hopeless wide left. I didn't have the pace to get by end. I wasn't really bringing it into the team. And after a few months, I think he kind of realised that, and he had a chat with me. He says, "Listen, I've been a wee bit unfair with you." He says, "What's your thoughts?" I said, "Well," "I'm not offering anything to the team playing there." And I said, "So you're going to end up with somebody better in that position than me." I said, "So I'm not going to play." I says, "At this stage of my career, I'm really kind of looking to play. He said, listen, there's been a bit of interest again. So I think Kilmarnock would take you back. Motherwell's keen. He said, would you like to get back up the road? And I says, I'll go and speak to them. So I spoke to Motherwell first. To be honest, my heart was set in going back to Kilmarnock. Scott, financially, it would have been a better move for me going back to Motherwell. Motherwell offered me a far better deal. But my gut feeling was just to sign with Kilmarnock again. So that was kind of covering that brief period at Reading.
Yeah.
The answer, I was hopeless.
Obviously, you spent 4 years at Kilmarnock in a second spell. What was that like?
It was great because when I come back in, as I said, the likes of Durant and McCoy to come in. I can remember, I think my first game back was Aberdeen at Rugby Park. I think we beat them 4-0. And some of the football we played that day, I was like, oh, wow, this is... And I took it to another level. You know, Durant obviously came in and it was fantastic. So, no, it was a great time. You know, the team was playing really well and qualifying for Europe. So, no, it was really good. And then obviously latterly, I think I got another injury again. And I was out for a wee while. And then by the time Jim Jeffries had come in as manager, I knew my time at Kilmarnock was kind of naturally coming to an end at that point. But certainly for the first period of that kind of 4 years, it was really good.
Brilliant. You then go to St Johnstone with Billy Stark. Obviously, you spent time with Billy at Kilmarnock. How did you find your 2 years at Maidstone Park?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think obviously the big reason for me going to St Johnstone was Billy Stark. You know, I had so much respect and time for Billy Stark as a man and as a coach. He's a top man. He's a great foil for Tam. You know, Billy was always quieter, but when he spoke, you know, anything he said really resonated. He made sense. He was a very intelligent guy, great coach, and just a top guy as well. So he was the reason I went to St Johnstone. Probably the most disappointed I've been in my career, Scott, because I really wanted to get promotion for him. And obviously we never quite made it. And eventually Billy got the sack. So when that happened, I knew my time was coming to an end there, and I was quite keen to move on. But I enjoyed my time at St Johnstone. Probably a bit quiet in terms of Perth, you know, the fan base and stuff, maybe not as vocal and as noisy and as passionate as maybe the Kelly fans would be. So that side, it was slightly different. You know, it was a bit more kind of, the environment was a bit more laid back. But it was good working with Billy. But as I say, when he left, and I think John Connolly came in, I was quite keen to move on and end up signing with St Mirren.
Yeah, and then obviously you finished your career at St Mirren. You won the Challenge Cup in the first division. Was that a kind of good way to end your career, winning 2 trophies and playing in a good team? Yeah, no,
it was. It was brilliant. I had a great 2 years at St Mirren. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, Gus was the manager, Andy Miller was the assistant, and obviously I knew them well from my time at Kilmarnock, and then Big Kev McGowan was there as well at the time. They had a great dressing room, good experienced pros. Big Mick Surpatalainen was there, Kevin, obviously myself. So they had a really good balance of experienced pros and some energetic, good young players. And we signed Charlie Adam in loan. Charlie was there for us, so he kind of made the difference as well. He gave us something a bit different, a bit kind of unique in that division. So it was great. Really enjoyed the training. It was great getting in every day. I was kind of coaching as well, which was good. Loved it. Loved every minute of my 2 years there. And as you say, it was great to finish in the high with winning the first division in the Challenge Cup. So it was a perfect way to end my career. Again, I kind of knew I was naturally coming towards the end. I was playing less games, maybe just playing the reserves, helping the kids out. So I knew the playing side was kind of coming to the end for me. So yeah, it was ideal time to finish up.
Brilliant. Obviously, you retired after that. Has there ever been a kind of motivation to get back into the game in a coaching capacity or something like that? Has that ever kind of crossed your mind?
No, I think when you leave football and you're out it for a wee while, I think it becomes really difficult to get back in. I did my toes in the coaching at St Mirren, enjoyed it, but I never quite loved it as much as playing and training. I love training every day. I really enjoyed my training every day, and I loved playing. And it wasn't quite the same for me. So when I left football, I kind of knew that was me finished with it. And it was unlikely that I would go back in again in a coaching capacity.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously, you've had a really kind of good career. What was your favourite memory of your career?
I think in terms of a game, I think you've got to go with the cup final because it was such a kind of special moment, and it's not every year a club like Kilmarnock will win the Scottish Cup, and it's not every year as a player that you get the opportunity to play in a cup final and get a winner's medal. So without doubt that in terms of a game, that's up there. It's without doubt kind of best memory. But I think I've kind of already touched on it. I just loved every day. I gave certainly for the Tam Burns era when he really I learned a lot from him in terms of how to approach training, approach the games. If I was about 22, I treated every day like a World Cup final, so I had no regrets, and I really loved every day. Every day was brilliant for me. I never went through the motions in training till a Saturday came. I loved it, so I had so many good memories, but to pick one, it's obviously got to be the cup final.
Yeah, definitely. You all right, closing some quick fire questions?
Aye, on you go, mate.
Brilliant. Who would you say would be the best player you ever played with?
Difficult for so many different qualities in players. I think if you're talking about just pure natural ability, there's, again, off the top of my head, you've got your Durants, you've got your guys like your Kokars, people like that, but I'd probably have to go with Davy Cooper.
Brilliant. Who would you say would be the best player you ever played against?
Again, so many talented football players, your Paul McStays, your Moravceks, but again, I'd probably have to go for sheer ability, Paul Gascoigne.
Brilliant. Favourite away ground you've ever played at?
I love going to Ibrox. I think it was a great atmosphere because the crowd were a bit closer to you than Parkhead. It was always a full house. And I think because we had a good record at Ibrox with Kilmarnock, I enjoyed going there. We won there a few times, so I'd probably say that was my favourite away ground.
Brilliant. Best friend in football?
It's hard to pick between the two. I'd have to go with Andy Milne and Kevin McGowan.
Brilliant. Favourite film and TV show?
Favourite film? Shawshank Redemption.
Great choice.
TV show? I was a big fan. I always remember it. Friday nights was my preparation for the match. Everybody loved Friends. I was a big Fraser fan. Love Fraser.
Right. Brilliant. Final question. What was your favourite dressing room story?
Favourite dressing room story? Again, I'm talking about the characters. There's so many. I could tell you so many. Certainly a few Alan McInally stories. I could tell you a couple of them. If you have time, I could tell you a couple. But if you want one, I'd probably have to go with the Ali McCoy's wind up with Jim Laughlin. Big Jim he got himself in the first team. Big Jim was a great lad, really funny, really confident boy, East End of Glasgow boy, so he was full of confidence, but really likeable, lovely lad. He was maybe only about 18 at the time, but he got himself in the first team, had been playing a few games and playing well. And Bobby was always quite hard on him to try and keep his feet in the ground. So anyway, Big Jim's got a new 3-year contract, and he's went out and bought himself a new motor. He's went and got a new Peugeot convertible. So he's drove into training with a private number plate. So Bobby's pulled him in and basically gave him what for, calling him, I can't believe it's always you, you're a big time Charlie. You get a new contract, what you do, you go and get a convertible motor. So Bobby's basically pulled him in and hammered him. So Big Jim's come out after getting slaughtered with Bobby, and for once he was actually quite sheepish. Well, that was happening, Jim, so he's kind of told us a story. So Bobby then comes in and says, I can't remember whereabouts it was, but we were training in Irvine in a kind of open grass area. And we used to just go in cars, and Bobby's come in and said, listen, we're training in a place in Irvine this morning. Just go in a convoy of cars, just follow us, just go in your cars and we'll go there. So in between this, McCoy's late every morning, so he comes in as usual 15 minutes late, and he's like, what's the banter this morning, boys? He's like, Mavis, what's happening this morning? So I'm telling him, you know, Big Jim's just been hammered with Bobby, so I'm telling him the story. Sharp as a tack, he's like, oh, brilliant, we'll have some fun with him this morning. So he shouts over to Big Jim, and at the time I was travelling with Bunyan, Paul Wright, I think Big Jim. So he said, Lockie, me, Mavis, Bunyan, coming in the new motor with you to training this morning. See what the new motor's like. And Big Jim's kind of looking at him and said, oh, Bobby's giving me a hard time. He's like, don't worry about it. He says, I'm going the new motor today. He says, we're brilliant. He says, can't wait to see the new motor, see what it's like. He says, I heard it's magic. He said, but you know what? He says, I've got a wee idea. He says, see, for a wee laugh before we go to training. He says, we're following every day. We'll do a wee detour into Irvine Town Centre. We'll have a wee sweepstake now, just between us. And we'll just pull over and we'll just stop random people. And I'll ask them the way to the training ground. And we'll see how many guys recognise me and ask for an autograph. So we'll have a wee sweep, see who can come up with the right number. And I'm thinking, what's he up to here? All he was trying to do, Scott, was delay us so that we were late for training. I still didn't know what he was up to. So Big Jim's kind of looking at him and he's like, oh, I don't know, Coy. We'll need to get to training because Bobby can't be late. He went, listen. He says, you're with me. He says, you know, you can do anything you want with me. He says, Bobby's not going to send when it's with me. He says, come on. He says, it'll be brilliant. So Big Jim's like, all right, okay. So we've done that. We went into Irvine, stopped a couple of people's blaring. And I'm all McCoy's, blah, blah, blah. Jim's starting to get a wee bit anxious. He's saying, Coy, we'll need to get to training. He says, we must be about 20 minutes late. He's like, no bother, we'll go to training. So me and Bunyan are sitting in the back. McCoy's in the passenger seat with Jim at the front. So it was a really big open area, and as we're getting there, it looked as if it was maybe about a quarter of a mile away. You could see the figures in the distance, boys training. So Cloysty's like that, Jim, do you think you could get 110 mile an hour out of this motor? And he's like, no. He says, the guy in the garage told me to keep it at 70. He said, no. He said, load of rubbish. He said, listen, I've got a great idea. The boys will love it. He says, we get the roof down. He says, we get the tunes on full blast. As fast as this thing can go, he says, I reckon you could get 110 out of it anyway. He says, fit to the flare, 110. He says, the boys will love it, it'll be brilliant. He says, and we'll drive head straight for the boys. He said, don't worry, they'll all see us coming and they'll scatter. He says, we'll get a handbrake turn, we'll just open the doors and go out the motor and we'll join in training. He says, it'll be magic, it'll be some laugh. Big Jim's looking at him saying, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea, Coyce. He's like, listen, telling you. He says, it'll be brilliant. He says, I'll get you in the good books with Bobby again because you're with me. He says, you know I can get away with anything. He says, and the boys will love it. Big Jim's like, right, okay. Me and Bunyan are putting my seatbelts on. I think this isn't going to end well. So Big Jim's got his foot to the floor and Coysty's shouting, does this go faster? So we're doing about 100 mile an hour. And he's got the roof down and he's got the music playing full blast. And it was like slow motion, Scott, as we're getting closer. The training just froze and the boys have stopped and they're looking at us. And everything just, it was as if everything slowed down. And at the last minute, the boys have all scattered. So McCoy's pulled on the handbrake. The thing's nearly went up on its side. It's kind of went over a wee bit and then kind of fell back over. We've opened the doors and we've got out. And to this day, it's probably the angriest I've ever saw Bobby. He's springing over, face beetroot red, and he's shouting, you, Lachlan, it's always you. And McCoy's jumped out and said, Gaffer, I told him, you can't do that. You can't do that. So he just stitched him up a belter and Bobby's like, it's you, Lachlan, you're fined 2 weeks' wages. I told him, Gaffer, that's outrageous. You can't get away with that. So it was brilliant. Every day was like that. They were up to something every day. So that was typical McCoy.
Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on, Mark. Thanks very much for doing it. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
It's great, man.
Thank you.